Welcome to the Family Forum. Today we are going to be discussing natural family planning, and we are very much privileged to have a guest with us, a very special guest. With us today we have Magdalene Kamau, who is the medical coordinator for the Archdiocese of Nairobi. If you would remember, for those of you who have been following us, the last time we talked with Father Boniface, he brought up the issue of natural family planning, and he went on to say that natural family planning should not be used as a contraception, but as a way of planning families, the Catholic way, according to the Humanae Vitae.
People are going to be taught about natural family planning, but they take natural family planning as any other contraceptive.
Karibu sana, Magdalene.
Thank you very much, Miriam. As Miriam has said, my name is Magdalene Kamau. I work with the Archdiocese of Nairobi in the medical office, coordinating health activities of health facilities of the Archdiocese, but I also teach natural family planning. And as Miriam has said, that will be our topic of discussion today, to share what knowledge we have on the same topic.
To start, you can briefly introduce to us what natural family planning is, especially for someone who has never heard of it or does not know what it entails.
Okay. Natural family planning, commonly shortened to NFP, refers to a way of spacing births or limiting births that is based on learning the signs of fertility that a woman experiences during the menstrual cycle. These signs are visible, they can be felt. So what a woman learns when they are learning to use the natural methods of spacing births is to see these signs, to understand them, and to hear what the body is saying. So in short, to understand the language of the body, because these signs are there. What we learn is to observe them and to understand what they mean. When I see this, this is what it means. Yes.
Is natural family planning for everyone? Can it be used by everyone? Does every woman experience those signs?
Yes, that's a very good question. Every woman in their reproductive age or in their reproductive years, when they are made aware, when they learn, they actually see that they always have had these signs. So every woman experiences these signs so long as you're within your reproductive years. The challenge we have is that quite a number of us are not aware, so many people do not know and they don't understand, so the signs just pass unnoticed. But every woman experiences these signs during the menstrual cycle. So any woman actually can use NFP or natural methods of family planning, irrespective of the stage of their life and the situation they are going in, they are going through. Even breastfeeding mothers can use the method. Young couples who are looking for children, who have had challenges conceiving, they can use the method to learn the menstrual cycle and therefore learn the best time that they can conceive. Even we have had mothers who have been using contraceptives, they experience side effects and they want to stop and so that they can regain their health. They still can use natural methods of family planning. Even as we we go towards the end of our reproductive years, we still can learn NFP and use it effectively.
Okay. So the issue is learning it effectively.
Yes, the most important thing with NFP is learning.
Okay.
And learning can be understood in different ways. There are some, I've encountered young people who want to go to the internet and download an app, which is good. We're not saying the apps are bad at all. But sometimes, not sometimes, but the journeying with somebody who has used the method listening to somebody who helps you understand the science is a very, very important aspect of this. Then after that, you can use an app or whatever you want to use. But the teaching is important.
Okay. So initially, the people who are interested in NFP should start with a class.
Yes, okay. It is important. The one-on-one touch, so that you get to understand what this means, what this does, what this means, what to do, what not to do. Then after that, you are good to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard you mention about women who are getting out of contraception because they developed complications. Can you perhaps talk a little bit about the side effects of contraception and why the Catholic Church does not advocate for contraception?
Okay. The Catholic Church does not advocate for use of contraceptives for very obvious reasons. The Church as a mother looks at all of us as her children, and she wants our well-being, both physical, psychological, and spiritual well-being. Since time immemorial, the Church has held this teaching, and it is not the teaching of the Church really, it is what Jesus would say about marriage. That marriage is not just a simple relationship of a man and a woman, it is a sacrament.
Yes.
A sign of inward grace that we cannot touch or see, but God gives. And the Church has always taught that married love is created by God for His purposes. And therefore, when a man and a woman enter marriage, it is for their good as spouses, the good of the two spouses, but also for the bringing forth of children. Yes. Children who are to be educated and raised for the kingdom of heaven. Now, in this union, which is for their good and for procreation, we cannot take one function and totally delete the other. They go hand in hand. This partnership of a man and a woman who are in marriage, their physical union, God blesses it by putting the soul of a human being, so that what is conceived becomes a human person. So we cannot really, the Church teaches that we cannot remove God from this. So that it is a union that I use to my own ends as a wife, or my husband uses to his own ends as a man, but rather that we must bring God in. And therefore, if we bring God in, then there are certain things God has spoken.
Yes.
There are certain teachings that God has always taught through history, through scriptures, throughout history. So we then have to adhere, to live within that. So that's why the Church advocates for those methods that respect nature, those methods that respect how the woman is created, and that do not go against the laws of God. So that we keep this friendship, this partnership, the tripartite partnership of husband, wife, and God alive and well. Yes.
Awesome. So the other question was, what are the effects of contraception? Because very many people are using contraception blindly. They have not been told of the side effects, or they're just ignorant about them. Can we maybe talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, it is true, Miriam, what you've observed. Sometimes women start using this, of course, because that's what we have heard from various sources, including sometimes our friends. But with very little understanding of how these contraceptives work and what the impact will be on the health of the individual.
Yeah.
And I always tell my friends, before you use any contraceptive, the side effects are not a hidden story. If you pick an insert is that little paper you find in the packet of every medicine you buy. Because by law, every pharmaceutical company when they make a medication or when they make a drug, they're supposed to put information about this particular drug in black and white on a piece of paper, so that when you buy it and you're taking it, you're supposed to read and understand what you're taking. Yeah. Unfortunately, in the area of contraceptives, I doubt we really do that. And I always tell my friends, before you take that insert and read. Because the manufacturer has an obligation to tell you what that medication will do with you. And I have had actually clients whom I have journeyed with to learn NFP, because a husband took an insert and read, and the side effects that were enlisted by the manufacturer woke him up, and he was like, is this what we are putting ourselves into? Can we find an alternative? Yeah. So I wanted to say the story of the side effects of contraceptives is not a hidden story. It is out there. The inserts have it. There are, if you Google on even if you go to Google, you will find, yes, you will find the side effects of the contraceptive that you are particularly on or that you are interested in. But just to mention a few, and of course, this is, they are also, different women experience different side effects at different points. But the most common ones are, for example, a rise in blood pressure, so that you used to have a normal pressure, now you become hypertensive, bleeding issues, generally poor health, general poor health. Yeah. Some women also have pains, backaches that don't end. Others have headaches. Some do contribute to the rise in cancer, cancers of the reproductive organs, especially cancers of the breast. It's not the only reason that women get breast cancer, but it does contribute. Yeah. And some of the contraceptives also can increase your chances of getting brain tumors, for example. So there are a myriad of them. If we were to discuss it, would take us an hour or two. Yeah. But it is so important that before you take that pill, before you go for that injection, before you go for that implant, or whatever other device you want to use, take a few minutes, Google, or read the material that the manufacturer has provided, so that you understand and you know what you're putting yourself into. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Great. It's good that people get to know exactly what they are putting themselves into. Yes. Marceline, I know we have previously talked widely with you about this, and I remember this one time you brought out one reason that people never look at for not using contraceptives. And you told me that in a way, contraceptives actually promote the breakage of the marriage. I found that conversation very interesting. Maybe perhaps can we discuss that a little bit? Okay.
Yes, some of the side effects that women experience is they can have a profound impact on the marriage. Okay. One of those is actually loss of sexual drive. It's very common, especially amongst the hormonal contraceptives. Yeah. The other thing is that they also can bring recurrence of infections. And if there is not proper communication and discussion between the spouses, it's very easy for one to start thinking the other is going around and bringing these infections home. Yeah. And that always is a source of conflict, because the minute you start accusing your partner of being unfaithful, and perhaps they know they are faithful, then you have opened a can of worms in a conflict. So the side effects really affect the health of the woman, especially. And they are unable to do some of them. I have come across women who bleed continuously. Now, if the woman is bleeding continuously, there are things she will not be interested in. Yeah. And of course, the husband is likely to think, no, this person is no longer interested in me. And they are tempted to look out there, where they'll find understanding and accommodation. So there are impacts that are physical, but they impact the relationship.
Yeah.
When trust is lost and we start looking at each other with eyes of distrust, that kills the warmth of the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And when there is no interest in physical union, the man feels rejected and he's likely to move out there. But the bottom line is that these effects of contraceptives, though they are physical, their ramifications are beyond the physical. They affect the spiritual and the social relationship between the spouses.
Okay. Beautiful. What would you tell the couples that have tried to use natural family planning, but they found themselves having a child that they had not, for lack of a better word, they had not planned for? And they now are in a bitter end of saying that natural family planning does not work. What message would you have for them?
It is always interesting to understand where they are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because also there are many misconceptions about natural family planning. One of it, and actually if you sample a group of people and you ask them what they understand, what they know of as NFP, most of them will tell you counting of days.
Yeah.
So we count 10 or we count 15 or we count 17, whatever it is. But that is really not what natural family planning is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at this point it would be important to clarify that there are natural family planning has its own very clear scientific basis.
Yeah.
And the methods that are recognized as natural family planning methods are 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah.
We have the mucus method. The mucus method, which was the fruit of the labor of Dr. John and Evelyn Billings. They are an Australian couple of 2 doctors who worked very much to research the mucus method. Mm-hmm. It's also sometimes referred to as the Billings ovulation method.
Yeah.
That is one. And its scientific basis is that when a woman is near ovulation, the body produces a certain mucus, which does not happen when the egg is not there.
Yeah.
So what we now train the ladies to understand is to understand the changes in the mucus that they experience, and to learn, therefore, where they are in their cycle. Mm-hmm. The other method that is scientifically proven is the basal body temperature. Mm-hmm. This is based on taking the temperature on a daily basis, early in the morning, the first thing when one wakes up, before you actually step out of bed. And science or research has shown that the temperature rises slightly. There is a slight rise in temperature after ovulation. So that when you are charting those temperatures, you have 2 phases, you have 2 plateaus, a plateau of lower temperatures before ovulation and a plateau of higher temperatures after ovulation. And then when you combine the 2 methods, the mucus method and the temperature method, then you get what we call symptothermal. And in symptothermal method, we also listen to other signs and symptoms in the body, because the process of making an egg, maturing an egg, is not just an event of the reproductive organs. The body is interconnected. So there are other changes that the woman learns to understand, and they can relate with the signs of fertility or infertility that they are experiencing. So those are the recognized methods. Initially and previously, even in the 50s, the 60s, there was what was commonly called the rhythm method or the calendar method. These assumed that every woman has an equal cycle. All women have 28 days menstrual cycle. But research now, especially once they started doing the Billings method, they realized no, we all don't have equal menstrual cycles. There are some who have 28, 26, 27 days, but there are others who have 21 days. There are others who will have 30 and above days. So the cycles are different in length. So you cannot count days, because the counting of days was based on the 28-day cycle. So if you count days and you are a 21-day cycle, you will get yourself where you don't want to be. If you count days and you are a 31, 35, 34 days cycled woman, then you will find yourself in an awkward position at some point. So this is why I said it is so important that people learn NFP and they learn the research and scientifically based methods that have been known to work. However, your question was what happens when I conceive and I was not ready for it. One of the things that we always discuss with couples when we begin, the method is, as a science, is 100% effective. Whether you want to space or you want to achieve a pregnancy, it works 100%. So how good it works for you as a couple depends on the effort that you two put in doing observations correctly, charting correctly, interpreting correctly, and following the guidelines, so that you're using the days as they are supposed to be used for different objectives. So that is something we always tell them. But over and above, as we are doing NFP, we remain open to life. We remain very, very open to life. I have seen instances where couples have chatted very, very faithfully and very, very accurately, but God decides to visit and give a baby. And you know, we cannot chase him, Life is his gift. So, and that is how, I liked it when you said, Father Boniface said that this is not a contraceptive. So if I conceive and I was not ready for it, I accept the baby and I raise the child, because it is a gift. A child is a gift. So even when we have done our effort and God has still decided, no, I'm giving you a child, we embrace the child and we raise the child as a gift of God. Yes.
Beautiful. You mentioned something when you were talking about this being a couple's effort. Sometimes you find that women have been given the responsibility sometimes to plan for the family alone. Can natural family planning really work when it's just the lady who is coming for the classes, or is it better if they do it as a couple?
Okay. I like the way you put it, that women plan their families alone. And it is one of the major side effects of contraceptives. They remove men out of the picture, okay? Because it is true, I can step out there and go and do whatever I want. I don't have to discuss with my husband, and men have learned to be silent on this, and they have accepted to be silent on this. But that's not the case with the NFP, with any method of natural family planning. In fact, for those who taught us when we were young, the older couples, they always used to tell us, hii ni method ya harambe. This is harambe method, where each of us brings their little contribution. Each of us brings their little contribution. So the husband brings his contribution, the wife brings his contribution. So that together, then when we have put our contributions together, we are able now to move as a couple on this journey of spacing our children and planning our families. So the contribution of both spouses is very, very important. But sometimes there is always the person who sometimes initiates a journey. Because we may not be at the same level sometimes, and especially when we come from contraceptives, or from that not knowing that there is a good way of doing things, there is sometimes the person who first makes the step. So I am saying that sometimes, yes, it is women who will sometimes come, they are tired of whatever they are going through and they want a change. we always embrace them and we welcome them. But we always tell them, let him come. Let him come. Because he needs to understand what the teachings are. And more importantly, and we will discuss, I'm sure, the benefits at some point, but let me mention this now. One of the major benefits of methods of natural family planning is that they give the couple better understanding of the woman and the menstrual cycle. Because the menstrual cycle is a beautiful cycle, but it's a cycle full of many events. And these events touch on the psyche of the woman, they touch on the physical status of the woman. And if as a man you learn them and you appreciate them, then you know when to raise certain arguments and when not to do. And you learn to live and love this girl who has many faces and ups and downs, but who lives in your house. Okay? So NFP gives the men that better understanding of the women, of the woman he has married, this wife whom he has married. There's a doctor who always used to tell us when we were young that every man should know he marries 2 women in one. Because the woman before ovulation and the woman after ovulation sometimes are 2 different girls. So when you learn to appreciate that, then you learn how to live in peace with each other. You learn as a man when to ask for what, when to touch what not to touch. It gives the man a better understanding of the woman. And also it gives the woman a better understanding of herself. So that you know the normal and you learn to pick the abnormal when it sets in. Because diseases do set in because of age and what have you. When you've been on NFP, you've learned the signs, the language of your body. When it changes, you're very quick to pick that and you seek treatment in good time and you're able to be helped. So the man has a big role to play in NFP. In fact, I always tell couples, a natural family planning gives man back what the contraceptive mentality has taken away from him, because the man is the head of the house. So don't feel very comfortable as a man that decisions as to how many children you have in the house are made by your wife alone and you have no contribution. No, this is supposed to be something we do jointly and we agree and we support each other to walk that journey. Yes.
Beautiful. I like the fact that you said that a man marries 2 women. One,
two in one.
I find that very interesting.
There's a doctor, when we were in nursing school, there is a doctor who used to tell us that every man needs to understand that you have married 1 girl, but there are 2 girls in one. And you need to understand, girl A is not the same as girl D. Physically is the same person, but the attitude, the perception, the reactions are different. So you need to learn to live with girl A and girl B, who is 1 girl, the wife you have married. Yes.
That just leads to a comment I had someone once make saying that men were created but women were made.
Whatever that means.
So it means, for men, God just said, okay, let's create this man. But for the woman, he really took the time to make her. Because she has so many intricate issues within her.
True.
As we're closing, Magdalene, maybe, I know you've discussed one benefit, but maybe can you just discuss the benefits of natural family planning?
Okay. Yes, I've discussed one benefit, which is that there is better understanding of the woman by the 2 spouses. The woman gains a better understanding of herself, and so does the husband gain a better understanding of the wife he has married. NFP methods also improve communication in a relationship, because if we can talk about the issues that are so intimate to us, then we can talk about everything else. As opposed to contraceptives, which sometimes do deny us the opportunity to converse about those things that are very intimate to us as a couple. So it does improve communication, because even if we disagreed in the morning as we were parting ways, in the evening, we must discuss the chat. So how was the day? Because when we learn, we like to have our men as the secretaries, but it can be done by anybody.
Yeah.
But bottom line, in the evening, we will have to tell each other how was the day. And so even if we had disagreed in the morning, we now have to talk. We don't go to bed with anger. We don't go to bed with unfinished issues. We have to discuss. Because if we are discussing how the day was, then yes, we must revisit the issue of the morning and sort it out and iron it out. And therefore, we are able to progress. So with time, people, husband and wife learn to communicate to each other about not just the intimate relationship, but about many other things.
Yeah.
Then there is better cooperation, because the one thing that NFP methods help us to understand is that I need my husband and he understands he needs me. So we are in this together. I am not in it alone, he's not in it alone, we are in this together. So we learn to appreciate our strengths and our weaknesses, and the strengths and the weaknesses of our spouse, and live within that. Because I also know he bears my weaknesses as I bear his own. Yeah. And there is better cooperation. There is better cooperation because we understand we need each other. Then of course, NFP methods have basically no side effects. If anything, they actually help us grow. There are no physical side effects like you will experience with other methods, because you're changing nothing. You are just observing what God has put in you, what God has given you, and living within that. And it's very, very clear. There are the fertile windows, there are the infertile windows. So we plan life around those. And therefore, there are no side effects, because there is nothing we are disrupting. Yeah. We are just observing and learning to live life like that. Now, another big advantage I have seen, and this I have observed because I have worked with young couples who tell me, you know, my mother or my mother-in-law is a nurse, and she has never used contraceptives. So when I got married, the first thing she told me, my daughter, please don't take these things. So I am talking of that example, that a mother-in-law can tell her daughter-in-law, my daughter, don't walk this direction, walk this direction instead. Therefore, it enables us, because we understand the beauty, because one of the major benefits also at the very end there, which is also what the church teaches and is the purpose for this also, is that we achieve self-control, sexual self-control. And if you have journeyed the journey of sexual self-control, and you have seen how it makes you a well-rounded individual, it is so easy for you to model that for your children. It is easy for you to talk to them about chastity. And when they get married, you feel the obligation and you have the moral strength to tell them, my daughter, my son, don't do this, do this. So that's a very big benefit. And I think it is, when we look at the pains we are going through as a society, sometimes I'm very convinced that we need to rediscover the beauty of sexual self-mastery in our marriages, so that we can give this good example to our children and encourage them on the journeys of chastity and sexual self-control. And one other advantage I would say about natural family planning methods is that eventually they strengthen marriages. It makes the marriage strong, because if people can talk to each other, if people can cooperate, if people learn to be honest with each other and put their issues on the table, then we are truly building a strong marriage. And we are building a strong marriage based on respect for each other and that ability to accommodate each other, to support and to feel with the other person and understand them. Yeah.
Maybe as a parting shot, for those who are interested in learning natural family planning, where can they get you and where can they get this kind of teaching? Because I'm sure there are very many people out there who would want, but they don't know how to access it.
No, I think that's very true, Miriam. I think the important thing is that they get in touch with you as the family life coordinator, then you can be able to link them with the services, because there are parishes where we have couples who teach natural family planning, and it's a question of linking them to these parishes or institutions, because also we have institutions like some health institutions that teach natural family planning. So if they get in touch with the family life office, they definitely will get linked to an institution where they can get service.
Okay.
Yes.
There you have it. Thank you very much, Magdalene. That was very informative. I know there are very many people out there who have not had the opportunity to learn about natural family planning, and they've now gotten a glimpse of what it is and probably feel comfortable in taking the step forward to learn more about it. I take this opportunity to thank you all for always being there to watch our program. And as we continue, let us meditate on the fact that families cannot exist without God. So even as you plan your families, have space to let God do what God can do. And without much further ado, I thank you for being with us. This is your host, Miriam Mwangi, and this is the Family Forum.